Welcome to an incredible journey with internationally renowned lawyer of attraction, Paula Kidd Casey. Applying the skills gained over 40 years of practicing law, Paula uses facts, logic, and science to prove the validity of the law of attraction. Join Paula each week as she explores unique concepts, allowing you to rediscover the wisdom of the ancient masters, all while weaving in the science that proves magic really does happen. If you yearn for a life change or want to rediscover your passion, then share the path with Paula and begin to love your journey every step of the way.
Hi, my name is Paula Kidd Casey, and welcome to the Law of Attraction Radio Network. I get to be your host today for my program, The Lawyer of Attraction, and I am so privileged to be able to have the #1 New York Times bestselling author, Pam Grout, here today. Pam is a world traveler, a loving mother, a best-selling author, a millionaire, and an inspiring witness to everyone she meets. She says on her website that she's only 4 out of those 5, but I bet pretty darn sure sometime soon she's going to be all 5 of those.
Oh, you know, I already am now. It's funny because I wrote that affirmation a long time ago. As I say in that bio, I know for affirmations work because at the time I started, I wasn't any of those things. But anyway, yeah. So
isn't that amazing? Like 20 years ago, she wrote that. So yeah. I'm just amazed that she's that I know her and that she writes such amazing books. So she is a world traveler. I think you've been to almost all the continents except Antarctica. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. As I say, I have to save something for my 90th birthday.
I also saw that it said that you hadn't ever jumped out of an airplane. You were going to save
that for my 90th birthday. I might have said that as well.
And have you ever jumped out of an airplane?
I still have not done that. Yeah.
Well, I have jumped out of an airplane.
Oh, cool.
And I don't think I'll do it again. But I'll come watch you on your 90th one. So Pam lives in Lawrence, Kansas, which is my alma mater. I went to KU, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. She went to K-State, which was our arch rival, but that's okay. She's still going to be my friend. She says she loves to garden and putter. She says she's written screenplays. Have any of those been produced yet, Pam?
Not yet. Well, I've had a couple plays produced, but I've never had any of my screenplays produced
yet. Cool. Where have your plays been produced?
Here in Lawrence. I've had 3 plays produced in Lawrence. One was about speed dating. It was kind of funny. And then there was one about, it was these kids on the side of a milk carton. You know how they used to put the kids on the side? Have you seen them? And so the actual set was these big giant milk cartons, and the actors were in the milk cartons, talking.
You are crazy. That is so cute. So Pam is the author of 19 books, and I think her 20th book is coming out in February.
No, it's due in February. It doesn't come out for a whole nother year and a half.
Oh my gosh, it takes that long? It takes that long?
Yeah.
Can you share with us the title in a minute?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Do you want me to tell you now?
No, I want them to have to listen to the rest of the interview so that we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's also been featured in many, many magazines. I have them here, and I'm going to go over a few of them. Travel and Leisure, Family Circle, Modern Maturity, which I'm sure neither one of us need. New Age Journal, Scientific American, those things are amazing. I met Pam about 5 years ago. I read her book, and I messaged her on Facebook, and she was kind enough to reply, and we had lunch, and we've been in contact since then. And so I am very privileged to have Pam today, and welcome, Pam. Thank you so much for being on my program.
Thank you. It's just been a great joy to have met you 5 years ago. We're both Kansans, so it's just really nice that we have this connection. In fact, last time we got together, I guess it would have been last weekend with Michael Beckwith, but the last time before that, we would have gotten together in Florida. So 2 Kansans in Florida. So,
with Mike Dooley. And then I hear you're going to be at Solapalooza this year too, correct? Are you going to Hawaii with him?
Oh, no, I didn't even hear about it. I'll ask him. Tell him I want to come speak.
Oh, okay, I will. I'm talking to him next week, so I'll tell him. Oh,
okay. Tell him I'm game. When is it?
Oh, it's sometime in November. Yeah.
Coming up like in 2. Yeah. Oh, in a month or so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm going to India in November, so I'm.
Oh my gosh, how much fun!
Yeah.
Just to write a travel blog. You're still doing those, right? You're still writing.
I still write travel. No, I'm actually going to represent myself, I guess, at Tribes for Good. It's a social enterprise group, and there's like 25 women going, and it's to learn all about how to use social media to change the world.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to be doing like different social projects. So I'll be there for a week in Mumbai doing that. And then the following week, I'm going to do some tourist stuff, travel around, see the Taj Mahal and see what else I want to see in India.
Have you ever read The Mutant Messenger from Down Under?
Yes, that's a wonderful book. In fact, I know that girl. Yeah, she's from Kansas City. I don't know if she still lives in Kansas
Oh,
City.
really?
I read a really early copy of that before it became, a big bestseller. It was like an unedited version.
Oh, really?
So,
Well,
yeah.
she goes to a strange country to talk to some women, and,
Yeah.
and they don't see her for 6 months. So
Right. Yeah, that was in Australia. I don't know how strange Australia is. I lived there for a year myself, but anyway.
I think I knew that. Didn't you
Yeah.
name your daughter after Tasmania?
No, I named my daughter after the Tasman Sea, which is the sea between New Zealand and Australia. And her dad is actually a Kiwi, a New Zealander. So she actually has a dual passport. Well, she has a passport from New Zealand and a passport from America.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So she was a world traveler from a very early age.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. I always say she was a cover girl by the time she was 6 because I did a story about llama trekking, because llamas carry the bags. And so there was a picture of her leading a llama on the front cover of this magazine. So anyway, cover girl at age 6.
Oh, that's so cute. I love the fact that mother was like your second thing that you had manifested, because I'm a mom. That's the most important thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So how old is she now?
She's 25 on October 8th. So I don't know when this actually airs, but she's about to turn 25.
And so is she a world traveler?
She is, yes. In fact, after she graduated from college, she went directly to Spain and traveled all over Europe and went to Morocco and Egypt. And then she went to New Zealand and that's when she decided to get her passport and to, become a dual citizen. Because I raised her on my own, but we always stayed in touch with her father just because, hey, how cool is it to have a dad from New Zealand,
Oh,
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And now she can, she can explore her other half.
Exactly. Well, there's real advantages to having a double passport. Like, for example, if you go to Brazil, because the U.S., we charge them $150. It may have gone up a little bit, but when I went to Brazil, then they charge us $150 to get a visa. However, if she uses her New Zealand passport, she can get into Brazil for free. So, There's just little advantages, which countries, work better with this passport and which countries work better with that passport.
That's just amazing.
She's been a lot of places. I took her a lot when she was young, and then, of course, now she's got it in her blood, so she's going all over the place. The two of us went to Cuba together in June. That was a lot of fun.
And is she a writer? Does she write?
She does write, but she actually works for Big Brothers Big Sister. She's what they call a match specialist. She was a Spanish major in college, and so she works a lot with the Spanish-speaking matches at Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Oh, how much fun.
Yeah.
One of the questions I was going to ask you is, how did you manage to be a mother, and a single mother at that, with being this world traveler? Because I think what I've read is that you totally supported yourself on all of this writing. Is that correct?
I have supported myself on my writing for 30, 40 years now. And it's been, again, I think it's really could be attributed to using the very principles from the law of attraction. I always believe that I can do it. I didn't ever look at it as a chore, like, oh, I'm a single mom. I mean, I did recognize that I was a single mom, that I was the one responsible for everything, but I felt fully confident to do that. By the time I had her, I was 37, so I was already older and I had confidence in myself. I'd been a freelance writer for a while, so I knew it was possible. And I had come to a point in my spiritual growth and in my knowing that I create my reality, so I knew that I could create this reality of raising her and traveling and doing all these things. She often would go with me. When school was going on, I would cut back on my travel. In fact, that's really why I started writing books, because, before she was born, I could just pick up and travel anytime. Well, when you write a book, that's a longer project, as you well know, since you've got your wonderful book out there.
Thank you.
I wanted to stay home longer. So I thought, I'm going to start writing books, longer projects. And really, it was when she was born that I started writing books. And so for a while, I was on pace. I had a book every year of her life. But as I said, she's about to turn 25, and I just signed my contract for my 20th book. So I did get a little far behind there, but I have written 20 books in the last 25 years.
I think you're good. You're good.
I'm happy.
I think you're good. So when did you start the spiritual quest? Have you always been spiritual? I
grew up, my dad was a Methodist minister. So I grew up with more traditional story about God. So I always, knew there was something else out there. When I got in college, I started questioning this thing that I'd been fed hook, line, and sinker about the way God was. There's got to be something bigger than this. If this God is so all loving, how could he be judging me. So I
Right.
started questioning
And how can it pick sides? How can it pick sides?
Exactly. So I started questioning that, and I wouldn't say I gave up God for a while, but I gave up, going to church and all that kind of thing. And then I started investigating other paths and got into more metaphysical things, and just kind of shifted my focus. So in some ways you could say I always believed in that. In fact, I remember at one point when I was a young child, kind of even leaving my body and knowing, that I was more than that body, and recognizing, okay, I have a choice to come back to that body. Not anyway like I was dying, but you know what I mean? I was just aware of leaving my body. I remember for a long time, I never told anybody about that.
Wow.
Weird, it's just like my little secret or whatever. But then later I've talked to people like, oh yeah, I used to do that all the time, because I think when we come into this physical plane, there's an adjustment. We're learning all these rules that they teach us, and these are limitations in some ways that we have in the physical plane. I mean, we can certainly transcend our limitations, but I think, coming into the body, it's like, oh, I'm here in this one place. We start believing we're only one place at one time, and you know what I mean? We take on the earth suit and we start playing that game, and it takes a little while to adjust to that. But anyway, so I think I've always known that I was a spiritual being, that I was connected to, this bigger cosmos. So I think I might have refined it, as I went along, and I've come to really study the Course in Miracles. It's probably my main, spiritual practice. And in fact, it's funny because, I wrote that book originally called God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days. And then of course it turned into E Squared. And then everybody in Law of Attraction, oh, it's the best Law of Attraction book. I won this award, best Law of Attraction blog. And at that time, I didn't even know that I knew the term Law of Attraction. Like when I wrote God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days, I knew what the Law of Attraction was because I used it. It was, it was part of my practice, but I didn't know it was called that. I saw it more as, well, in my book, I call it the field of infinite potentiality. So it's like connecting to that field of infinite potentiality. So, there's so many different terms of how you can, what you could call this force that's out there. But until, I'd already written the book before I even knew there was a term, Law of Attraction. So, I did the rewrite of the book, I didn't know that, but I didn't know. First
of all, I want to ask you about your spiritual, when you had your out-of-body experience, and then I want to get us into when you did write the God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days. So talk to me about the spiritual, the out-of-body experience, because I just think those are amazing.
Yeah,
I've never really had it.
Great revelations about it. It's just I was a young kid, and I can remember like not being there. I mean, not being in my body and seeing my body from up above and knowing that I was other places. And then I had to make a conscious choice. Do you want to come and, do this body here? Do you want to come and stay there? And then at one point I just kind of quit doing that. I just, okay, here's me. And I became this physical person, but I was always aware of like that, this bigger part of me. So I guess it's not so much out of body, but I was just so aware of the bigger part of me, very much aware of that. And then at some point I sort of gave that up and became just a normal human being. I mean, none of us are normal human beings. You know what I mean? It's like I didn't seek that out to be other places and
right. So what year did you write God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days?
Okay, probably about 10 years before E Squared came out, or maybe 9 years. It might have been 2001. I'd have to look at the actual, and basically it's the same book. It had 10 experiments instead of 9 experiments. And I did switch out one of the experiments. So 8 of the 10 experiments that were in God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days are the same exact experiments that are in E Squared. I added one. I added the Jenny Craig experiment because I thought that was pretty interesting, about how our thoughts affect our body. So I added that one and I took 2 other ones out. But basically it is the exact same book. And one of the things I say that really does prove the law of attraction, when I wrote God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days, I had every intention of it, being on Oprah and becoming a big bestseller, but it didn't do that. I mean, it just crashed into the sea of literary has-beens, because I said before, it did go out of print. But I always really believed in that book. So when I brought it back out as E Squared, I kind of rebranded it in the sense that it's energy squared, not God, because you can call this force anything. The point is that we want to use this force. But anyway, so I called it E Squared, and I had gotten my frequency a lot happier. I was doing lots of gratitude. I was studying this stuff. My daughter was off to college. When I wrote it before, it's like, when you have a bestseller, you get asked to go all over the world. I've been to Japan speaking about my book. I've been to the Philippines. I've been to Peru. I've been to Finland. I mean, I've been everywhere speaking about my book. So part of me knew that, if the book would have taken off then, I mean, I wasn't conscious of this, that I wasn't quite ready. My daughter was still here. But when she was off at college, and then, like I said, my joy frequency went up. I got happier and happier. And then, you're open open for all the great gifts of the universe to come flooding in. So that's really how I sort of describe what happened to me with E Squared, because basically it's the exact same book. And a lot of times people will write to me and go, this doesn't work for me. And then I usually send them a little blog about that very thing, is that when I first wrote this book, it wasn't that the gift wasn't there. It wasn't that the bestseller wasn't there. I had to be open and ready to receive it. And what changed between the first time I wrote it and the second time I wrote it, I had become open. I had prepared the way. I really believe we're connected to everything. But we only animate into our lives what we put our attention upon. And if we have fears, if we have reasons, if we have whatever, then we're not wide enough open to see all the things that are available to us. So nothing changed in the book, really. What changed was in me. And that's how all change occurs. We change the inner, and then therefore the outer changes. And that's what it's all about. And it's a great thing, because that means we do have control over it. We do create our reality.
Well, and as you know, you and I were both at the Michael Beckwith thing last Saturday. He came to Wichita. Woohoo, I can't believe it. I mean, we're little, but, he said, he talked about the acorn, that, it's always inside of you, but until you have the conditions that it can actually grow, that, it doesn't take off. So obviously, you've always had this, and you were in a position that you had a condition that could actually grow. So in 2001, that was before The Secret came out, right?
Right. In fact, the movie The Secret came out about the same time as my book, and my editor, it was a different publisher at that time. I was with Perseus Book Group published it, and my editor called and she goes, Pam, I don't get it. Your book is just like this movie, The Secret, that's going around. Why is it taking off and yours isn't? She asked me that. She goes, you're saying the same exact thing this movie is saying. But like I said, I obviously wasn't prepared at that point, or the seed wasn't ready to grow. And the other thing that happened, they hired a traditional Christian publicist, and she was trying to promote it. This publicist that this publisher hired, kind of more within the more fundamentalist Christian circles. Right. And nothing wrong with that, but my book is a little askew from their point of view. And that's, you know what I mean? It maybe wasn't quite the right marketing technique. Right. Who knows what the reason was? I believe there's always a bigger story behind the apparent story. But, that could be a story. Someone could say, well, they tried to market it to a real straight line Christian audience, and that really isn't. Some straight line Christians love the book, but some might, think, oh, it's blasphemous. There are those that would believe it's blasphemous that we too are the Christ. We too have this power. It's not just this one guy. It's all of us have the power.
Well, and that's also what Michael Beckwith said, that that Jesus was not an exception; he was an example.
Exactly. I love that.
If we could just all embrace that, then why can't we all get along?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things I said in my book, Jesus didn't say worship me. Jesus said follow me. Anything I can do, you can do too. And so we've spent all these 2,000 years worshiping him as somebody so separate from us, when actually he is us. He is our potential. He is, our way shower, what we are capable of. But we kind of got off base a little bit by thinking, he's doing us. But anyway, that's one of the things Michael Beckwith talked about, and that's one of the things I so strongly believe too.
So, back when you wrote it in 2001, the Celestine Prophecy was out and Conversations with God were out, but it was not mainstream at all.
No, probably not. Yeah. And maybe people weren't ready for it. I don't know.
Right.
That was just my particular story. And it was perfect. I always think everything happens in divine timing. And I just totally trust that all is going to happen just the way it's supposed to happen. And so it didn't. In fact, one of the things I also say in E-Cubed about that, rather than get upset that my book, God doesn't have bad hair days, didn't take off the way I had planned, the way I'd intended, I just got happier. I wrote 3 books for National Geographic. I didn't sit around and go, oh, woe is me, my great book didn't do it. It's like, okay, that's that. What else can I do? What else is there? So I wrote, like I said, these 3 books for National Geographic, just, kept working on getting myself happier and more joyful and, opening my channels. And as that happened, then it prepared the way for me to be ready to accept, all the abundance and wonderful things that have happened from writing this book.
So you were tell me, did you ever self-publish any of your books?
I did. I self-published. My first book I self-published is called Jumpstart Your Metabolism. It's a book.
I've read it. I tried to breathe that way. Yes.
Did you read the yellow one or the blue one?
It's the yellow one.
Okay, that was the one I self-published. And I mean, I literally self-published it where there were boxes and boxes of it. You know, I mean, this is before the internet, before you could have done an ebook and all that. Now it is the ebook form. But then about maybe 4 or 5 years after I self-published it, and I had real good luck. I was on the Howard Stern show, and I did a lot of radio interviews and sold a lot of copies of that book. But then I was on a TV show in New York at that time, and a publicist for one of the other guests that was on the show said, "Would you be interested in selling this to Bantam?
Wow.
You know, this book that you self-published?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd be interested in talking to somebody," but I knew enough to go get an agent. And so what the agent did is she took this book, you know, Jumpstart Your Metabolism, and she opened up and got an auction on the book and ended up selling it to Simon and Schuster. So there are 2 copies of that book. There's the one I self-published. So if you have, I don't know if you still have it, but if you have the yellow copy, that's like a collector's edition, because that's the one that's kind of has a crude copy that I actually designed. The cover, it's not maybe as professional. And then there's the Simon and Schuster you know, one edition that's, you know, a little more professional and that kind of thing. But basically, again, the same book. It's just that they bought out the rights from me, and now they publish it. In fact, one of the cool things that's happened after E Squared took off and became #1 New York Times bestseller, all my other books then took off too. I mean, Jumpstart always did pretty well, you know, but it really has you know, shot through that. You know, it's done a whole lot better too. My other books have also, Living Big and my National Geographic books, a lot of other books that I have written that have also gone on to do well. So that's one nice thing. You know, this was my 16th book, the one that, you know, took off and became the 40 languages and all that.
Wow.
But, you know, then all the other things that I had done then kind of came back to the forefront. So that's one nice thing about it.
You have an amazing voice. And so when people love your books and they go back and get your other books, obviously, I mean, you're just like you're talking to them in the living room. You just got an amazing voice when you write.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
How did you find an agent? Is that because you'd already published a lot? You were already a published author?
Well, that is exactly what happened. Like when I was at that talk show and that publicist for this other author asked me if I'd be willing to sell my book, I thought, you know, I should try to get an agent rather than just sell it outright. And right now, I do not have an agent. I've had 2 literary agents in my life. The first agent I had that I got when I, you know, took Jumpstart to Simon and Schuster, she actually did that. She was a great agent. She was Richard Carlson's agent, you know, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. She was John Gray's agent, you know, Men Are From Mars. So she had some really big clients. But when she was 49, she left the agency business. She now just totally works on vegan causes. That's her passion, but she no longer is in the book business. So she quit being an agent. So then I hooked up with another agent. In fact, the agent that sold the book God Doesn't Have Bad Hair Days for me, sold it to Perseus Book Group. And when I sold E Squared, I literally, you know, he wasn't interested in, I mean, he'd already represented it once, it hadn't done anything, but I still believed in that book. So I sent it off unagented to Hay House.
I was wondering how you got there.
Yes. And, you know, they say on their website, we don't take unagented books, but they did. And partly probably because I, you know, had a track record that was, again, my 16th book. So they went ahead and took my book. And then the next 4 books I've done have all been with Hay House. So I've just stayed with the same contract that we worked out on that first book. So, you know, I did E Squared, then I did E Cubed, then I did Think and Grow Rich, and then I did Art and Soul Reloaded. And then now I'm doing, you know, my 5th book for Hay House. So I still at this point don't have an agent. But the thing that happens when you know, hit the bestseller list, everybody wants to be your agent. You know, back when I was trying to find an agent, you know, it was like, oh, please be my agent. But now it's like people come to me, I'd love to represent you. But, you know, I'm pretty happy with the relationships I've got with Hay House. And I'm just more or less, you know, sticking with that until something else, you know, changes or I decide to do something different.
So can you tell us about your new book?
Yes, it came about because of an actual sign. I'm a big believer in listen to the signs. I believe the universe is always communicating with us, always trying to guide us, always trying to bless us, always trying to interact with us. I mean, that's always happening. Again, how open we are to noticing that is the question. But so starting in January of this year, of 2018, I started blogging about A Course in Miracles.
I know, I love that. I want everybody to get on her blog. It's daily, isn't it?
Well, it's sort of slowed down a little bit, but I was, you know, daily blogging about A Course in Miracles. Paula, I cannot tell you how many emails, responses I get. You should turn this into a book. I've always wanted to read The Course in Miracles, but it's too dense. I can't understand it.
That's me. Yep, that's me.
So anyway, I got so many of these. I thought, maybe I should turn this into a book. So I sent that idea off to Hay House, and they said, yes, let's do that. It'll be a book. So at this point, it's because there have been a lot of books that have come out about A Course in Miracles, like A Return to Love. Marianne Williamson wrote that, and that was about the principles of A Course in Miracles. Gerald Jampolsky did Love is Letting Go of Fear. I think Alan Cohen has done a book about Course in Miracles for Dummies. So there have been books, all of them have been, they've taken a few principles from A Course in Miracles, and they're all wonderful books. I mean, Return to Love is one of my all-time favorite books. But what's different about my book is I literally am taking all 365 lessons, which is where the rubber hits the road. You can learn theories till the cows come home. You have to put it into practice.
Right.
And that's why E Squared was so big, because it was actual experiments. People actually tried this. It's like, give it 48 hours, see what happens. So there was no, you have to believe this because I say so. It's, you can believe this because here's an experiment. You can try it. You can see with your own two eyes. And same with Course in Miracles. You can read it. It's like, oh, wow, that sounds really great. But you have to actually try what they say to do. And with this book, you actually, you've got 365 days and you do what it says as your life is being transformed. And basically in those 365 days, you learn how to connect up with this higher force, with God, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. It just matters that you call it forth. I mean, that's the most important thing. And so after I got so many emails, it's like, okay, I get it. You want me to turn it into a book. So basically that's what it is. It's my blog posts. It'll be daily 365 lessons from the Course in Miracles. And you thought it was coming out in February. It actually will come out January of 2020. Because it's kind of a nice thing to start on January 1st. The truth of it is you can start at any time, but the idea will be that you start at January 1st. But my deadline for turning it in is February 1st. There's a whole long process. I mean, since you self-publish your book, you maybe didn't have to go through this, but I mean, it's like back and forth between editors, and it takes a really long time from when you turn in a manuscript, when you're working with a publisher. That's one of the advantages of self-publishing. You can do such a quicker turnaround.
Right.
You're having to, work with a publisher that's working with other, there's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. But already, I'm having to turn in, do a video about the book. And, it's just, there's a long process in getting ready for a book's debut. From a publisher.
So does the Course in Miracles, is it 365 days, or is that just what?
365 lessons. The Course in Miracles has 3 sections. There's the textbook, the book that kind of explains it.
I've got that, right.
Yeah. And then there's, it's all in one big book. Then there's what they call the workbook, and that's the 365 lessons. And then behind that is the what's it called, Course for Teachers, or the Teacher's Manual, or whatever, people that want to teach the Course in Miracles. And it's a lot shorter, but usually when people buy the Course in Miracles, they get all 3 books together.
Right, that's what.
So anyway, and here's the funny thing about Course in Miracles. If you go to a typical spiritual gathering, how many people out there own a Course in Miracles? Pretty much 99% of the people, oh yeah, I have Course in Miracles. Then you ask, well, how many of you have actually read it, done it? Maybe 1 or 2 people. I mean, it really is. It's like, I call it the big blue doorstop, because people buy it. It's like, oh, I'm so excited, it's going to make it work. But then they don't really, it's too confusing. So I guess what people kind of ask me to do, I tend to write in a pretty relatable style, kind of like to make it fun. Like I always say, if it's not fun, it's not going to be sustainable. We want this to be sustainable, meaning that we're going to continue to do it. So I try to make it fun. So anyway, that's my goal. And I feel really called to do it. I feel a real sense of destiny, or this is the right thing for me to be doing. And it's interesting because it's my 20th book, and after Art and Soul Reloaded came out, I purposely took some time off, because I was just like, book a year, after Easter, EQ, thank you very much, 4 in a row. And I thought, no, I'm going to take a little bit of time. Wasn't even really sure what the next project was going to be, but again, Spirit was calling, because over and over I'm getting these, please turn this into a book, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, I got it. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, I got to tell you, when I read your blog, that's the first time I've gotten that particular aspect of what you're talking about. So it's very relatable, and you use stories, personal stories and other people's stories. So I think it's great. Do we have a working title for that?
Well, right now it's called Course in Miracles for Badasses. And there's some discussion that title might get changed, because
Jen Sincero?
For what?
Because Jen Sincero, doesn't she have the...
Well, she does have that, but that's not necessarily an issue. In badass is a term, that a lot of people use. But as the vice president of publishing at Hay House said, because my books tend to be translated into other languages, 40 languages, could be some trouble translating badass into, say, Lithuanian or whatever. So we're still in discussions on what the title might be. And I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I'm giving it up to spirit. I like badasses because it's real direct. But there's also the issue that some people are offended by that. Oh, I don't want to say badass. Some people love that term, and to me it says it all. I mean, this is for I feel like people that are all in. You know what? I'm going to go for this. I'm doing 100% all in, and that to me is like a badass. But I do see their point. And so I'm kind of waiting for directions. I've been asking all my friends, in fact, if you have any thoughts, like, oh, what do you think would be a good title for that? It's like, it's for people that are really wanting to go for it, but, and want to have fun with it too, because again, part of the reason people don't realize that Course in Miracles is so cool is because it seems ponderous. It seems like something you have to do. It doesn't seem like fun. And who wants to do anything that's not fun? It is fun, but people don't know that. So kind of my mission is to really open people up to the fact that this is a really fun thing to do. This is a really great gift that's available to us. So, hey, rah, rah. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do.
As we all know, we have to get in that happy vibration or nothing happens to us.
Exactly.
I figured out about a year ago, I'm a badass divorce attorney, or I was. And, oh my God, it was just so energy draining. You go into court with your fist clenched. And about a year ago, I said, okay, because I've taught the programs for the last 6 or 7 years. I said, I'm going to quit teaching discipline. I'm going to quit teaching anything. All I'm going to do is just get happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to surrender, which I hated that word. Oh my God, I hated that word because it meant like I lost or, I'm submitting. And I just said, I'm going to surrender to happiness. And last year, everything has taken off. So,
yeah,
I know that if we could look at the Course in Miracles in this amazingly high vibration, I think it could change everything.
Right.
So how did you get the name E squared? Did Hay House come up with that?
No, I came up with it. Well, it's a takeoff on Einstein's E equals MC squared. And as you know, there's a lot of quantum physics in the book. And so really what I said, because E squared originally was sort of Course in Miracles, because like I said, I've been a student of E squared forever. And so when I wrote those 9 principles, or 10 in the original book, it was principles straight from A Course in Miracles. Even though I didn't call it that, but that's where I got that. I do talk about Course in Miracles and E squared. In fact, every book I've written, I've talked about Course in Miracles. Because again, that's my wingman. That's my, my friend. That's what I do. So, but anyway, so it's like, okay, the God thing didn't work. They hired the fundamentalist publicist, all that stuff. So energy, there's a lot of things you can call God, the divine source, inner guidance. I mean, there's a lot of different terms for this thing. So energy works. And then again, because of the quantum physics, I just called it E squared. And it's like squaring your energy, or, accelerating the energy that is available to us, the energy that we are, the energy that's around us. And so E squared just seemed like the perfect book, the perfect title. So I was real happy with the title, and obviously, Hay House liked it too. People responded to it. And then of course we went from that to E cubed, which was fun.
That was fun.
And somebody goes, oh, is there going to be an E quadrangle? And I said, no.
Is that a word?
Yeah, so yeah.
Well, so in E cubed, you actually kind of talked about me, because I came and I gave you the book, The God Theory.
Exactly, yeah.
So, and that's a book that really kind of changed where I'm coming from, because, so did you know the Course in Miracles when you wrote E squared in 2000?
Oh, yeah. No, like I said, I've been studying the Course in Miracles since I was in how old was I when I first went to that course? It was way before Return to Love even came out. Return to Love is a book that introduced a lot of people to Course in Miracles, but I had already was into the Course in Miracles even before that, because I had read Gerald Jampolsky's book, Love is Letting Go of Fear. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not.
Okay, he was a medical psychiatrist out in California. He'd just gone through a divorce. He was deeply, deeply depressed. He was atheist, wanted nothing to do with God, but was just really depressed, was drinking a lot. And one day, when Course in Miracles first came out, because, originally it was just a bunch of typewritten pages, and
it looks like the Bible, right?
Well, it does now, but in the beginning, it was just a bunch of pages. Helen Schuckman had, channeled this, and then William Thetford wrote it all down. And so Gerald Jampolsky got a hold of some of these typewritten pages of the early Course in Miracles. And when he picked those up, he heard a voice that said, "Physician, heal thyself."
Oh, wow.
This is your way home. So he knew even though he wanted nothing to do with God, in fact, in the book, Love is Letting Go of Fear, he doesn't even use the term God, because, God is love. I mean, love is the energy force. And a lot of people are turned off by the term God. And in fact, that's what I even say in East Squared, there's been a lot of myths perpetuated about God, and it's no wonder. Again, God, this God force energy is like the coolest thing you could ever do. A lot of people look at it as he's a judging, and they feel guilty.
He's out there.
Exactly. Out there. So yeah, it's just a lot of myths have been perpetuated about this. I mean, like the coolest force ever. So anyway, yeah, so I've been studying Course in Miracles even before Return to Love, and have been doing it for years and years and years. And it's really kind of remarkable, because I didn't understand any better than anybody else did. You read it and you go, this makes no sense. But something about it kept me going for whatever reason. I have no idea why, but I just kept going with it until now. I read it and it's like, oh, I love this. I get it,
Then don't you find that, you think
you never get it, but I get the basic principles, and I'm able to, put it into practice in my life as much as possible. And it's important to me. You keep growing. You never get there. You just keep going and growing and expanding. It's infinity. We can't even put our head around infinity. There's no limit to it.
I read the Celestine Prophecy in the 90s and go, oh, I get it. This is a cool book. And then 10 years later, I read it again and I said, oh, I didn't get it all back then. I really get it now. Then I read it last year and I go, I didn't get it the other 2 times.
I should read that one again. Yeah.
Because you just, you're a different person. You've got more, soil that it can grow in and stuff.
Exactly.
So I think that's amazing. So that's really a great symmetry that your 20th book is literally on the Course in Miracles, right?
Yeah.
There's your sign.
Yeah, for sure.
There's your sign that it is. So what do you see the future having in store for you?
One of the things I was just thinking that I was going to put in my book, maybe in the next, each day I'm, writing several of these different things, but I have gotten so much faith in this force that I do intentions to a certain degree, but basically when you mention the word surrender, I know whatever the force wants for me, whatever my source wants for me, is so much better, so much bigger than anything I can come up with. So yes, while I know certain directions, I want to change the paradigms on the planet. I want to, give my blessings to the world. I want to, be the best version of myself I can be. As far as real specifics, I've got a television series that I wrote that I'd like to get out there. That's something on my plate. And again, I'm going to need help from the big cheese to make that happen, because I don't necessarily.
You'll have it.
What's that? But I haven't exactly. So I guess, like I said, the more I let that happen, the more I'm open to, Spirit's guidance. So whatever happens, I just know it's going to be really good. I mean, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the afternoon, but who knows what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So I'm just so trusting in this force that loves me that I know it's going to be good. But as far as what's next for me, I don't know. I'm going to finish the book. I'm going to continue to talk about these principles. I will continue to, have my TV series out there, having people read it, that kind of thing. So,
you're going to stay in Lawrence.
For now, yeah. For today.
That's what I'm kind of getting that. So I want to ask you this: are you ever in a bad mood? Because you are always so up.
Sure, I'm human. I mean, we all have those days, but I guess I've learned to embrace even those days as a blessing, because it shows me something. It teaches me something where I've shut down. Usually if ever I'm in a bad mood, it's because I've shut something down. I've shut somebody out of my heart. It's something that I need to correct within myself. It's given me an opportunity to say, okay, Pam, do you really want that? Is that really what you want to do? And one of the tools in A Course in Miracles is you just say, Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Because I really believe there are no problems in the world, but there are problems of perception. Obviously if I'm in a bad mood, I'm seeing something in a way that is awry from how it really is, what truth really is. So I'm making a judgment, or who knows what I might be doing, so that my thoughts are not in a place. I'm not thinking like God thinks. I mean, God is only love and graciousness and kindness and expansion and creativity. That's God. And that's who I really am. That's who you are. That's who we all are. But when we don't do that, we're unhappy. You know, when we're judging, we've cut something off. So there's a part of us that's not being fully who we are. So it's not even a question of, oh, you did something wrong. It's just that you're not getting as much as you could be getting from this, you know, all encompassing wonderful force. So basically I do have bad days, but I also have tools to, and I recognize that it doesn't have to be that way. That it, you know,
Okay, so give us the basic tool to get you, because, you know, Abraham Hicks, do you ever listen to Abraham Hicks?
Oh yeah, I love Abraham Hicks.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
You know, she says you have to have contrast, right? So you
Uh-huh.
can say that if something's not going well today, it gives you contrast. So you
Uh-huh.
can use the law of polarity. You know, what you don't want, I'll tell you what you do want. What one tool would you give us that you use to get out of that bad mood? Because I think I'm in a pretty good mood, and then I read your blog and I go, she is so happy. She's pissed me off. She's so happy. So,
you know, I start my day. I mean, you've read Think and Grow Rich, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know that 2-step program that I do about the gratitude? I mean, I think that's one of my chief things that I do, and it's a real simple little program, but again, looking through the eyes of gratitude. But one of the other things about that particular practice is starting every day with that intention, that not necessarily that I'm going to do this or this or that, but that something amazingly awesome is going to happen to me. Something, I've gotten tired of saying amazingly awesome, so now I say something extraordinarily epic is going to happen to me today. So I start out, and right away, that's the direction my life's going to go, because I'm looking forward to something extraordinarily epic happening. Again, I may not specify, I may not know what it's going to be, but something really cool is going to happen. So I start with that, and then I start with texting gratitudes to my little possibility posse. And again, it has to be something different every day. So I'm actively looking for new blessings at all times. And I think that's one of my main practices. I do the Course in Miracles every day, and I do try to meditate every day. And again, that's just opening up to, hey, God, here I am, you know, hit me. You know, what do you want me to do? What you know, it says in the Course in Miracles, you ask, you know, what do you want me to say? Who do you want me to say it to? You know, what do you want me to do? So you just really kind of surrender, and you just are present for this force and say, okay, whatever you want, whatever you say, here I am.
Boy, that takes a lot of faith and belief.
Yes, it does. But the more you do it, the easier it becomes too, because you realize, wow, this really does work. And when you start seeing all these blessings that Source will send to you that you hadn't even thought of yet. I mean, like, who knew that I've always wanted to go to India, but who knew Tribes for Good was going to contact me and offer to fly me over there and participate in this thing. You know what I mean? So, like, I didn't conceive of that. You know, my idea might have been to go to Peoria, Illinois. I'm just kidding, actually. You know what I mean? I might have a small vision for myself, but the more I surrender, then I can look into the bigger vision. And God always has a bigger vision, Source, field of infinite potentiality, whatever it might be, than anything my little pea brain comes up with.
And you know, that's what I've found the last year, because I was a control person. I had to be in control of everything.
Yeah.
And I finally said, I'm done. You figure it out. You know, not that I'm not going to show up, not that I'm not going to take inspired action, but I'm not going to try to figure it out. I can't tell you all the amazing things that happened last year. Just like Jules Johnson gave me this radio show. Like,
yeah, that's so cool.
I know, that just kind of, I couldn't have figured that one out. Yeah. So, you know, surrendering is such a big deal. And that was such a hard lesson for me to get to. That was such a hard thing to. So do you have one particular book besides The Course in Miracles that has made a big difference?
You know, I read a lot of books. I love to read. In fact, a lot of times when people go, why did you become a writer? It's because I love to read. And I think anybody that reads a lot eventually thinks, oh, I think I could write too. So I have many, many books that I've liked. I liked Michael Singer's book, you know, The Untethered Soul. I thought that was a good one.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, Eckhart Tolle's work, I think, is really good. About the Power of Now.
One of my favorites.
Wow, I've read so many good books over here, but the one, you know, that's just been my mainstay that I've used over, you know, decades of you know, pursuing these kinds of topics would be Course in Miracles. But I've read a lot of books, a lot of books. And I can say for myself, you know, reading it's really not enough. It really is putting it into action. You can read all the books you want until you actually put it into practice. And that's, again, why Thinking Square spoke to so many people, because it was like people are going to be trying these experiments and they're going to see it with their own two eyes. So, you know, that's, again, the most important thing is that we see it for ourselves, that we actually, you know, in Eckhart Tolle's case, that we really do try to live in the moment and try to see the beauty that's right around us instead of, you know, thinking about the past and worrying about the future, but I mean, being in the now. And that's God. You could call that God. That's like seeing just this beauty that's around us. I mean, think about what a miracle it is. I'm here, we're what, 200 miles away, and we're talking to each other. I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, there's miracles everywhere, and we just have to, you know,
all these people, right?
Yeah.
I want to share with you one of the experiments I did on E Squared. I think I told you this before, but I think the paragraph after you talked about putting an intention out to the universe, it had the word cacophony in it.
I remember that.
And I said, I don't remember what the word cacophony. So I'm a wordsmith. I love words, and so I looked it up. You know, it says a din, you know, a symphony of din, you know, things that didn't go together, a loud noise, and so I said, okay, I'm going to see the word cacophony again in the next 24 hours. So I put it out to the universe, and no cacophony. So the next day I'm driving out to Colorado, and I'm trying to get my Audible account on my book on my phone, and I can't access it. So I pull over and I write to Audible, I can't get my account to work, and I hit it, and I swear to God that, you know, the autocorrect changed the word account to cacophony.
That's so amazing. I love
know,
that.
and I'm telling you, it was like 2 minutes before the 24 hours ran out. I mean, this shit works.
Yeah, yeah.
It really does. It's just amazing. So,
yeah.
You know, if anybody out there has it ready to square it, I would be surprised. But if you haven't, it's amazing. And it makes you believe in just little increments, you know. It's hard to take a huge leap of faith. But if you could do those experiments in E Squared, you get just a little bit down the road, you say, oh my God, that one worked. Oh my God, that one worked. You know, I used the hangers.
Oh, right, yeah.
When I would teach my classes, that's one of the first things I would have my people do, because when they realized that they could control something outside of their body with their emotions and their thoughts, man, I had them, you know. Then they could stay up with my program and stuff.
Right,
so.
That's a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing how that one works. So, so what else do you have to share with us? Anything? I know you have so much.
I'm happy to be here with you, and I'm excited about your radio show. So it's just launching, or you've already started a few weeks, or?
You're my fifth week, and you're my first interview. And you know, as an attorney, I was always told never ask a question unless you know the answer. But I guess as an interviewer, I'm going to have to learn how to ask questions that I don't know the answers to. Yeah. So I mean, that dropped out of the sky, and I've been wanting to transition from being a full-time attorney to doing this full time, and another amazing opportunity fell out of the sky that I could never have figured out. You know, I'm always trying to, you know, orchestrate stuff. Okay, now I'm going to do this, and you're going to do this. And when I said, "You figure it out, God, I'm done. I'm going to take a nap," I'm not kidding. It's amazing. Your stuff is so true.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you had one piece of advice to tell people, what would that be?
Well, love yourself, love everything, just live in gratitude, and just really be open to new possibilities. You know, I talk about problem state versus possibility state. Most of us tend to live in problem state. You know, we're always focusing on, got to solve this problem, and this is not quite right. But when you start living in possibility state, and you realize that whatever you see now in your life is really just like a photo album. It's like a museum. It doesn't have to be the same way in the next minute even, except that you continue to see it that way. So as you move more and more into gratitude and onto that joy frequency, then your life just starts really opening up. So as small as that could be, gratitude, some people go, oh, that's just a small thing. It's so powerful. It changes everything.
It does. It changes everything. Because you're now looking for more things to be grateful for, and guess what? The universe shows you more things to be grateful for. So it's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, Pam, I thank you so much for being on my show. And I want to get together with you soon. And I'm anxious for your daily blogs and also for your new book. So thank you so much. And I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you. Let's have lunch soon. Let me know when you're coming to Lawrence again.
I will. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for joining me this week when we had the amazing opportunity to interview Pam Grout. And if you haven't read her books, I would tell you to go find as many as you possibly can, because she's an amazing writer. She has a wonderful voice. I'd also invite you to go to my website, lawyerofattraction.com. There's a great 7-day challenge that is a free challenge. It's called The Magic of Intention. I'd also ask that you join me on YouTube. If you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel, Paula Kidd Casey, The Law Year of Attraction. And I would love for you to follow me on Facebook, the Lawyer of Attraction on Facebook. And I'm also starting an Instagram and a Twitter, but I haven't got that far. But so I hope that's coming out soon. And my new program, Your Outrageous Life, is on digital form. So I would love it if you would go to my website and look at that. And until next time, I just want to leave you with this from Ram Dass. We are all just following each other home. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining Paula Kidd Casey on Lawyer of Attraction radio show. For more information about Paula programs and her book, please visit www.lawyerofattraction.com. Until next week, may you experience the magic of manifesting genuine abundance.